Howdy, my friends. Today we're going to tour the Yuma Territorial Prison, a relic of the Old West in a really brutal place. Let's go check it out. It's an old wagon here. Curiously, the horse seems missing. And here is the main guard tower. It actually sat on top a tank where they had water, so it would help prevent evaporation. They pumped in the water from the nearby river, which you can't really see from here, but it's down there. But I gotta climb that. All right, I am up on the guard tower. You actually can kind of see part of the prison that we're gonna go visit here shortly. Get a nice view of Yuma and the surrounding area though. And you get a beautiful view of Interstate 8 and a train, one of the many trains that passes through here. It's gotta be the third train I've seen so far. Okay, so I think I've spent enough time hanging about like the area around the gift shop. It's time to get into the prison. Let's go to jail. Do not pass go and do not collect $200.
Yuma Territorial Prison was authorized in 1875 and opened to the first 7 prisoners on July 1st, 1876. During construction, some of the prisoners were even made to build their own cells. Due to conditions of the hot desert, the prison earned the nickname of the Hellhole. The prison remained in operation for another 33 years when in 1909 it was forced to close due to overcrowding. The prison saw 3,069 prisoners serving sentences ranging from adultery to murder. During its lifetime, it remained a territorial prison. Arizona would not reach statehood until February 14, 1912. After the last prisoner left the prison, the complex continued to be used in numerous different ways. From 1910 to 1914, Yuma Union High School used the buildings after theirs was destroyed in a fire. After students returned to their newly built school, the prison continued to find life in new ways. It was used as a county hospital from 1914 to 1923. The veterans of foreign wars leased the guards' quarters and set up their clubhouse there until 1960. Finally, on January 1, 1961, the Yuma Territorial Prison State Historic Park opened to the public.
So here we are in the prison yard proper. Right next to the loud and busy freeway, by the way. Let's go explore this. As human beings, we always find things to complain about, don't we? Wait, when you visit a place like this, you find very little to complain about when you really put your mind into this. And this is the old prison bell. Looks like it was made in 1875. I think that's the year this prison opened, actually.
My name is William H. Loustino, but people know me here as Three-Fingered Jack. They threw me in this hellhole because I stood up for some miners during the Morenci mine strike. That was back in 1903.
So do keep in mind that in that depiction there are 3 people in there, and I think it could actually hold 6. And they only had 1 bucket to share. This is neat. There's actually a open room you can go into to get a real taste of this. So these are original iron bunk beds. Now keep in mind I read that, actually you see it right there, these used to be wooden beds, but to solve pest problems they had to get rid of these. So I'm just standing here trying to clear my mind and just imagine being stuck in here on a really hot Arizona summer day in July or August. And this was supposed to be pretty luxurious compared to other prison conditions in the country at that time. Who knows what those would have been like. Okay, so that sign says that prisoners were not in the cells during the day. They had a lot of work detail and things to do, but other than that, they were locked up in here. Looks like on Sundays they had time for reading, arts and crafts, education, or relaxing, but I mean, man, if this is all you had to look forward to for the foreseeable future. Keep in mind too, there were people here incarcerated for adultery, put in these really harsh conditions for that. Now just compare that to today. Now adultery is scoffed upon, of course, but man, that wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things. And you can see the mechanism that locked them in here. I don't think this is an original padlock, but regardless, I mean, I don't think you're getting out of there. And you can even see, like, look up at the ceiling in there and you see it's just like bars all around. I imagine with some persistence you could probably dig your way out of this material, but not when you're encased in bars. And this here is the infamous dark cell. This is where the really bad people got to spend days, up to 100 days I hear, in almost complete darkness. It's actually nice and cool in here right now. May not be all year round, but this is it. I imagine if this was back in the day, in order for it to be completely dark, I'm gonna guess that behind me was closed off, because in the museum you learn that the only light that would shine down on here is from a small hole up in the ceiling. And sometimes guards were known to throw scorpions and snakes down on top of the prisoners to mess with them. My goodness. And here in the middle of the room, I believe there would have been a cage actually. So you would have been inside of a cage inside of this room. And the reason for that was the guards didn't want the prisoners to rush them to get out of here. So they had them locked up. Really grisly. Now this room is supposed to be haunted, I hear. Now, I don't really believe in that stuff, so I don't really feel any eeriness in that way, but I do feel an eeriness just putting myself in the mind of someone that might have been locked in here for days, maybe months at a time. I think the record I heard was 100 days. They mentioned that in the museum. So imagine being stuck in a completely dark room where your only meals are bread and water for 100 days. Oh, and by the way, they didn't clean this either, so I think you had to go to the bathroom inside the cage, so it must have smelled horrible in here. Anyway, I'd say the dark cell is a pinnacle moment being in this prison. It's just so brutal. Man, this is the deluxe apartment in the sky for this place. I don't see any information about what this room is, but if this is a prison cell compared to all the other ones, this would have been absolute luxury.
This cell likely belonged to Pearl Hart, one of the more infamous female inmates at Yuma Territorial Prison and one of only 29 women. Often miscredited as the only female to rob a stagecoach as well as participating in the last stagecoach robbery in 1899, Pearl made a name for herself as the Lady Bandit. Once initially arrested, she escaped weeks later by creating an 18-inch hole out of the lath and plaster wall. After one acquittal and a subsequent conviction, Hart was sentenced to 5 years at Yuma Territorial Prison. Her accomplice, Joe Boot, was sentenced to 30 years but escaped after serving almost 2. Being one of the only female prisoners, Hart used that to her advantage. Her cell was one of the largest, and she allowed reporters and guests to visit and take photographs of her. She was later pardoned December 19th of 1902. While the reason for this pardon is debated, it is said that she was released to avoid the scandal of a pregnancy resulting from an affair with the warden. To this day, Pearl Hart is known as a legend in women's history.
Right behind me here is an old-time infirmary. Imagine getting hurt and having to be poked and prodded with old 1800s medical equipment. I wonder if men died here. Apparently one of the leading causes of death here was from tuberculosis. So if this really truly was used as an infirmary, I imagine people must have died in here. This area of the prison is known as the New Yard and was constructed in 1900 to solve the problem of overcrowding at this prison. There are several cells here that you can come check out. It's really neat. You can actually peek your camera in there and you'll see lots of graffiti. I've seen some really old graffiti in here. Compared to some of the other cells that we saw earlier, if these housed just a couple people, I think these would have been luxury compared to what we've seen so far. I'm assuming this is original. I don't know. This would be cell number 2. And they have this random cell open here with a couple beds in there that you can actually go in and take a closer look at. Let's do that. Here I am laying in one of the beds in the New Yard at the Yuma Territorial Prison. This is really weird. Not very comfortable. I don't know if these were the original mattresses, but the frame is metal underneath my butt and not very comfortable. And it's a warm day too, I can tell you. It's a little cooler in here than it is out there in the sun, but man, I couldn't imagine what it's like here in the middle of the summer. It also smells very musty and kind of old in here, and I don't know if you look kind of at the ceiling, it's made of old wood. Maybe that's what I smell in here, but yeah, it's got that old time smell. But yeah, this is really a cool experience to just kind of get a taste of what it would have been like bunking in here for years maybe. I survived the hellhole, the Yuma State Territorial Prison. That's one of the coolest historical sites I visited in the state of Arizona. Really gritty. You really get a sense for what it must have been like to be here. I only spent hours here. Some people spent years here. Absolutely amazing. For the cheap price to come see this, how could you not? If you're on your way from Phoenix to San Diego or back and forth, I would definitely try to make a stop here.